Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, where we proudly provide world-class education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. I'm your host today, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and we are here on coexistence and sustainability with pet psychic Aminah. Today, we're going to be talking about a very special topic, especially for those who are in the States, and we have the big Thanksgiving weekend here. Paws and plates, foods that you should not feed to your pets and what you can feed to your beloved animals. Joining me is the star of our show. Her name is Pet Psychic Aminah. She is not only a pet psychic, but she's also a trainer, a speaker, and a humanitarian. Let's welcome her to the program. Hello, hello.
Thank you so much.
So good to see you. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was really nice to, just get time with the family and talk and sit around. And it wasn't just all about the food. You get older and you get older kids. It's not just about the food, but it was nice catching up.
I'm glad to hear that. And can you share with us how many pets you do have and what do you feed them for a special holiday? Are they getting some turkey?
No, they are not getting any people food. It just creates a possibility of begging for things when you're eating. That is not a good scenario to have. You imagine you're all sitting around and having a great dinner, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, with the big meals, and your animals are being fed from the table. That's not healthy because you don't always know what it is and what's in it. Oh, they love Cheese Whiz. No one should be eating Cheese Whiz because if you've ever read the ingredients, some of them you can say out loud, and some of you just don't even know what color, number, blah, blah, blah is. So don't feed your pets people food. It's just the go-to of every good caregiver and owner of pets. Sure, you feel great about loving them, but you could also love them into a hospital or a doctor. You don't know until afterwards that they have an allergic reaction or they have a sick reaction or throwing up. I don't know if people know this. Throwing up is violent on the body. And that's for people and animals. So you don't want them having to get sick again or having to flush them, or God forbid, you have to take them to the vet and have them stay overnight because they've got to have an IV or something like that. These are the risks you take by feeding other things that you haven't cleared with the person who's making it for your dog, for your cat, for your bird, for your lizard, whatever it is. It is really, really important that you know what you're buying. It's very important.
So thanks for that. A question that I have, because I've actually seen people feeding their dogs people food, and they don't necessarily feed them from the table, but they actually give them whatever they're making for that meal. The dog actually gets it in a bowl. So what would you say is the difference between giving the dog some people food that some of what they're eating could also be in organic dog food?
Well, exactly. We are in a time in history where there are so many places now that you can get organic food, meaning it doesn't have 5,000 things in it or two things that you don't even know what it means. 8 number color 9. What? Why do we need color? Why do we need all of these types of things? Think about what we've done and changed in an animal's life to be with us, but it shouldn't kill them, and it shouldn't cause their fur to fall out and or have rashes. I have seen the clinics and the vets really getting slaughtered by skin diseases. And what do most skin diseases are caused by? Diet. Exercise maybe, but diet for sure. There's something that color number 12 might bother them and not bother you. You can make those better decisions. It is really that easy. And in today's world, so many people have pets. The industry has gotten better at a decent price. Not when we were doing it younger, maybe Dr. Jacalyn, when you had animals and pets, it was expensive. I had shepherds, I had working dogs, and they were expensive to feed because they needed not only quantity, but the quality. And nowadays you can really do well with that.
What do you think about feeding your dog some type of fruit and vegetables?
No, it is never recommended by any vets. The high content of sugars in that alone should keep you away from that. We don't want any heavy salts for yourself or your pets. We don't want you to have any one ingredient just taking it over. It could be color number 9, and you didn't know that your dog or cat or lizard or whatever was allergic to that because you hadn't tried it yet. So remember, we don't need to test on our pets. My go-to always is talk to the professionals. That's what your vet is for. That is the ingenuity and education that they have put into their license to give you that kind of suggestions. Sure, you could do an online search, see what's out there, see what people are talking about, because pet owners are really, really good at sharing. Is it always right for you? Maybe not. So open your mind and open where you're at, and then say, okay, is this really what my cat needs? Is this really what my snake needs? Is this really what my dog needs? What they need is a good, healthy meal, the same as your kids, same as your spouses. All of us deserve things that we can read and not say color number 9 on it, because it can really, really affect people with allergies and the ones that don't even know about.
Good points. Thank you. Now, what about some of these treats that they have at your grocery store that are for cleaning the dog's teeth? So they have typical bones that break down, but then they have these other kinds of bones that supposedly help with their breath. And they also have these little chewy things.
Right.
and little hot dog looking things. What are your
Yep.
thoughts about these types of treats that come in packages that you find in the grocery store?
Well, like anything we eat, I don't know if people talk about this anymore, but look at the first three ingredients of anything you eat. That is the majority of what you're consuming. So if you are allergic to caffeine, I know I am. I can't have it on the third ingredient or the fourth ingredient, much less the first three. It causes all kinds of pain and rashes for me. So you need to know that means I don't eat chocolate either. That's not something I eat because it has caffeine and or it has different parts in it. You're going to get really good and you'll love it when you get to be the expert, when you start looking at labels. Those first three pieces on that label, whatever it is, a powder, a liquid, or whatever, that's going to be the majority of what you are consuming or you are using for your dog, your cat, whatever. So there are plenty of things that we can cross over. Some dogs are crazy about vegetables, asparagus, carrots, whatever. Now watch out on the carrots. It's high in sugar. So not so much the rest of the green vegetables. So check with your vet. Your veterinarian is a vital part of your health of your animal. Do they need vaccines? Do you do that? Do you not? These are the people to ask those kind of things. Me as a trainer and as somebody who talks to animals, it's murder to listen to an upset tummy. I don't care if it's a child, an adult, or your dog. It is really, really painful to listen to and to have, and then have them have secondary problems because you didn't know they had a allergic reaction. How are you going to know until it happens? So talk to your vets. Talk to there are some really, really great pet stores that have really high-end pet food. Go there, talk to the staff. They're educated 99% of the time, and they will be able to help you.
Thank you. When you think about people who have started their own pet line of products, baking products, what if you decide to start making your own food for your dog? So you're going to bake them some treats. What are some ingredients? I don't know if you bake or not, but what are some ingredients that you could put into a dog treat that would be healthy?
Any of your now your chicken meat, of course, you have to debone it. That's essential. Those bones are just waiting to get into a tooth and all kinds of medical issues. So if you're going to go with meat, you want to have it be clean. Means no pork, and that's not a meat that's considered clean just because of the way the pigs deal with their own food and they eat a lot of garbage and that type of stuff. So clean meat, things you know what's in it. Do you cook it? Do you not cook it? A lot of animals like it raw, but raw opens up to a few possibilities that it got sat out too long, it didn't get refrigerated long enough, and it's moldy that you don't see. So talk to your vets. Please talk to the professionals. And they, a lot of times now, have their own line because they feel strongly about having not only the authorship, if that's a thing, to how the food was made, but they can stand by it. Or they just sell things in their clinic that they're aware of, has the ingredients they believe in, and have really good results by other animals that they have recommended it. Wouldn't you want to talk to somebody who has that kind of experience? Talk to your vets. Talk to your neighbors are great to get you started and say, hey, this worked for me, but this one didn't. This worked one for me, this one didn't. Not all animals necessarily are capable of consuming the same thing. So keep that in mind. It's just food for thought.
Excellent points. Thank you. Thank you. So what about as your, let's say, dog specifically starts to get older, what kind of caloric intake should there be when the dog is a puppy versus when it gets older?
They really are still recommending a higher fat content, because with the older animals, you're going to have less fat staying on them unless they're completely sedentary and you feed them terrible things and you come at it that way. So you really, really want to look at what's the animal, what do they need, what is their age range. And I will tell you, the internet is fabulous to do these researches. You don't need to, go anywhere. You don't need to take your neighbor's advice only. Maybe it works for their pet, but maybe it doesn't work for yours. So I really highly encourage you to take this on. If you take on a life, your pet's life, and you want them to be there for the whole 5, 10, 20 years that you could be there together, nutrition and what they're eating is first and foremost. It is the epitome of importance. Having lots of good water, having good food. It's the same with people, believe it or not, but a lot of people will do better with their animals than they even do with themselves.
That's very true. And sometimes I find that people become so attached to their animals that they're taking them everywhere. Are there places that are really not great to take your pets?
Probably a restaurant. But again, that's a law on most of those. But there are now restaurants that cater to animals. So don't think that you're completely cut out. And also, if they have outside seating, that you usually can have a dog on the leash. Now, we got people doing cats on leashes. It's getting more common every day. But that, cats are a little bit different on deciding, no, I don't want to do that. No, I do want to do that. Where a dog is a pack animal, and they'll be a little bit, hopefully, more apt to go with the flow that the family's doing. So maybe take your own food so you can regulate it or understand, because maybe that restaurant says this is the best food ever, but it makes your dog sick. So be careful, be diligent, and always look out for the best for your pet, because we don't get them again. They don't reincarnate and come back. And I know anytime something happened with ours, I'd beat myself up first and then go, wait a minute, I got to learn from this and do better, because we can do that. But you got to start out with really good food, because then you got a really healthy animal that's going to be there really, truly as long as their lifespan can be. And that's what we all want, right?
Definitely. I do know of times when people who own dogs and they're barking and barking, they'll just give them anything to make them stop.
Yeah. But they're not addressing the issue, right? If you have a kid that runs around your house screaming all the time, there's something wrong. There's something that they're communicating this way. Your dogs and cats do the same thing. Your squirrels, whatever you got, they have a way of communicating. They don't know that you communicate a different way. They know you sound different and maybe you smell different, but they accept you as that's who you are. We need to do the same for our animals, and same thing for our wildlife. It is not a kindness to feed wildlife, believe it or not, because they are supposed to have a life out in the wild. So they're going to trim the bushes that they eat. They're going to eat some of the roots, maybe. They're going to dig a hole where there would have been a flood. There's a whole relationship between wildlife and nature and how it thrives. And you look at a whole bunch of ways that we've participated in landscaping, and we've destroyed all kinds of things, and we're flooding areas. Well, your animals don't do that. They instinctually say, okay, I'm going to take care of this. I'm not going to eat the whole family of mice. I'm going to eat 1 or 2 or 3, and maybe they'll get bigger and they'll be yummier. Animals know limits. Animals understand it's part of who they are, that they are going to stay with safe people and happy people that love them and work with them, or they're a guard dog, whatever that they are meant to be. We just need to keep that in mind. Don't waste all the resources and then be surprised when we're in floodland or the plants aren't growing, so therefore we have no vegetables, or whatever happens to our nature. It can be rectified today, always.
What happens, Pet Psychic Amin, if we see a creature in the wild and it's been injured and it's kind of calling out to us? Do we go with some water? Do we go with some food? Do we give some linens, blankets? What would you suggest?
The first thing you need to do is you need to get a hold of the wildlife organization in your state, county, zip code. You can call your city election people and say, hey, I've got an injured animal, wildlife. There are a million laws and rules that either allow you or don't allow you to intervene with a wild animal that is injured. So please, make sure you cover yourself by finding out what those laws are, and then getting the right people that are licensed to step in and help that pigeon or help that horse, dog, whatever's out there. And you found, I would hate to find that my neighbor is not feeding their dog, and all of a sudden, these roaming around in the bushes, and I can say, okay, I know what this, I know what this looks like. But it would be safer for you as a neighbor to probably call the city people and get their advice and tell them what's going on, because it hopefully won't be just you who call them and say, hey, I'm worried about their animals. That's harmless, because somebody professional will come out and judge the situation and find out if they have a vet, if they're getting care, and you're just seeing it on a bad day. So somebody else who professionally does this will have that respect and the ability to say, hey, let's look into this.
Now, I do know that sometimes when we call wildlife, they will actually come out and kill the animal. And so you don't want that to happen, but you're saying that there are laws in certain states where you really can't intervene.
Right. If you've got for example, a deer that's been hit by a car, sadly, it happens in those places that the deer are there. They're wanting to go over there to the water, and everybody's not stopping their cars, or they don't see them. And it's tragic. It's absolutely tragic, because some of them survive but lost their legs, so will never be wild again. So again, every municipality has those laws and rules, especially if you're in a vaguely rural any area. They're going to know what the wildlife is like. Do you have 100 squirrels running around and stealing nuts, or or your deer country, or you're just people? Sadly, it happens to pets, and their house cat, they don't want it anymore, so they move out of the place they lived and they just leave it, or they put it out. And this is how we get a decimation of birds, because we've got cats running around like crazy, and everybody's like, oh, but they're bored and they don't have anything. No, you're bored. They can be just as happy as clams if you give them a scratching post and maybe some balls to chase, and you interact with your cat, dog, whatever it is. But when your cats are let loose on the world, they are consuming far more than what would be happening if all these cats weren't running around while their families, at work or whatever, and they're just like, oh, they love going outside. Well, yeah, who doesn't love going outside and laying in the sun? The problem is you're getting too many kills. Too many birds are being killed. And we need that whole picture for nature to work.
Yes. I was just thinking, it's really kind of tough sometimes because you want to do the right thing, but at the same
Right.
time, the deer, the pigeon, that they're suffering, and you'd like their suffering to be less, and maybe comfort them while they're
Right.
waiting for their ultimate demise.
And you can do that. There's a lot of laws that don't even let you cross that line, and I understand because some people then keep them for forever, and that's not how a wild animal about, et cetera, et cetera. That's why I always say, talk to the people in your county, city hall, whatever it is, and say, I think I have a bird with a broken wing. Is there somebody who can pick it up? And that means somebody who does this professionally, who this is their world is to do. There are people that are trained just for wildlife. We all live in such different places and so many different topographies. You can't possibly not have some kind of wild animal somewhere. I don't know about the cockroaches, but let's stick to birds and deers and all that kind of stuff. And know that there are people that can help you. Is it possible they might put it down? I hear this. I used to hear this all the time. Oh, but I'm afraid they'll put them down and they won't give them a chance. That is possible. Not probable, but it's possible. Today, we're more educated than when I was doing this even 20 years ago. And so many people was like, oh, I'm going to save them. I'm going to save them. And it's like, but I don't know how. And I can't afford the vet. Blah, blah, blah. So then that animal went without suffering. They did suffer, and their life was terrible up to the end. So there's that narrow road. How do you pick it? That's up to each of us. I'm just giving you the outskirts of saying it isn't going to be easy, because if you have an animal, then you obviously have the heart to want better for them. The one thing we can do is we can stop, doing a lot of things that scare them or they don't see. So many ribbons and signs and things that we put up, birds run right into them. They don't see it as a non-movable object. So be really careful what you put out and what you do, and where the bird feeder is, if that's what you love to do, and make sure it's clean. Make sure it's clean.
Thank you so much. Can you talk to us a little bit about, we were talking about dogs, but what about birds? If you have a bird feeder, or, you want to feed the birds, is that okay to put some kind of food out? And if so, maybe people don't want to go and spend money to buy bird seed. What's actually in bird seed that maybe you could find and put together your own bird seed?
Anything, depending on the bird, is what they're going to eat. So you really, really should get the bought one, because you'll know it's the size right, things you're going after. You get the small birds, they're doing a little small seeds, you get small bugs, you get a small this. What's really nice is if you put a water dish up, you put a fountain up, you put an access place for wild animals. Even your neighbor's cat will come for a place to get clean water. It is so simple. There's no laws you're breaking usually, and you can make a fountain out of it, or you can just make a dish out of it. And if you're in a place that gets really hot and dry, this is life-saving for wild animals. And they come in a million beautiful directions and size and fountains and all of that. These animals will come for that. Now, remember, you can't put chlorine in it. You can't make it a pool or anything like that, like a swimming pool. It has to be straight up water, and you will have to clear that water whatever your weather does. If you're dropping leaves all over and you put the pond next to the tree, then those are things that have to be cleaned out of. But water is more essential. Let me say that again, is more essential than solid food. You can live on water a lot longer than you can that measly little piece of food, whatever they're giving. And you can put cat food out in that, but what you're going to get also, ants. If you put food out, you're going to also invite the ants. So again, do your homework. Look at what they're doing, what is needed, what is available. That's why I always say water, it should be the first thing. It's easy. You can go out and put a little clean water in every day, all of those types of things, and your wildlife will just love you to death because they can see around a pond and see if it's dangerous or who else is drinking out there right now. But it should be clean. Remember, you do need to read. You either get a faucet that has a fountain in it and it changes the water, or you go and make sure you just take a hose, fill it up. It's really that simple.
Fantastic. All right. So we talked a little bit, about dogs and also about birds. What about cats?
If I had my my druthers, it would be that all cats would be indoors. First of all, they live longer. Second of all, they decimate less birds, meaning they go for them. They're hunters. And so we have domesticated cats. Pretty much, if you have a cat, it's domesticated, and they don't have any reason to be feeding themselves out of the wildlife. And some people think, oh, that's great. They're hunting. It's part of their who they are. Well, yeah, if they were wild. But when we let our cats go out and run around, they're killing lizards, and most of them, they eat them. So it's not necessarily a waste, but it is, because then there's no balance in the world that those lizards live in or birds live in, because there's far too many cats to feed a couple of birds. And they will get in their nests and climb the trees and all that. So please, if you're going to decide to have a pet, specifically a cat, please have them indoors, 100%.
Now, what if you have adopted a wild cat? I know my mom had done that, and the cat would come in the house and she would feed it outside with cat food and water, but it would just come and go when it pleased. And sometimes it would bring back little gifts like mice or birds.
Oh,
So
yummy.
what if you rescue a wild cat? How do you handle that?
Well, the first thing you need to do is get a hold of the government you live in, because every municipality has laws and rules about wildlife, and all wildlife, lizards, birds. I don't know if crickets are on the list because they're a little bit different. But if we continue to take animals from the wild, where they are balanced by what living in the wild does. There's only so much food for so many babies and so many animals, blah, 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 on and on, these types of resources. When you take them into your home, there's plenty. There's plenty, because most people don't have no money to buy cat food, dog food, sheep food, whatever that is in your area, or a coyote. But what happens is then the animals that should have been culled out in the wild to keep those numbers down to a reasonable amount that the earth can support, and instead they're in a home and living longer and consuming more, or then let loose. It's not the right balance. That's not the way the world was put together. We try and really, really encourage everybody. If it wouldn't happen in nature, maybe you shouldn't be doing it.
Profound statement there. I love it. Yeah,
And
fantastic.
true. And it's easy. It's not blaming. It's if you saw a deer get hit by a car, then you would take it to the ranger station. You would take it to somebody who works in their home area and know if the deer should be put back, or if it would go into care, or it would be put down. But they are experts at dealing with their wildlife. That is what rangers do. They get the people to go this way and not too many cars go that way, because we muck up the air and we drive over things we haven't even seen. And what you don't know is maybe there's a whole plethora of insects that's their food.
Right.
Well, then the birds don't have any food because the insects didn't have any food. And here goes this terrible spiral out of control. That's what I want people to hear. We're all connected. We really are.
So true. And I'm finding that people are starting to wake up at some point to realize that.
Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad somebody can say that. I don't. Just tons and tons of dogs and people and running around, and I'm always thinking, well, it's great they're off leash. I wonder if they're keeping an eye on them while they're off leash, because there are places you can go. There's tons of dog parks now where, because dog parks were all covered in poop. People weren't picking up. They weren't doing that. But guess a lot of governments are now making dog parks, and they have little bags that are right there for you to pick up. People still are struggling with that a little, but what they don't understand is the dog poop does not biodegrade into the dirt. And that's what they keep thinking. Oh, just let the cats do it. Let's let the dog. Well, do you feed them wild kill? No, most of the time. So therefore, their feces don't biodegrade as easily. Does it never happen? Well, sure, sometimes. But just imagine if you got a dog park of 20 dogs and they're all pooped and nobody picked them up.
Exactly.
Great for that park.
I think at some point you may luck out if it's cold and the feces gets frozen and then the wind comes in.
But that's what the little bags are for. You put them on your hand and you pick up the poop and you reverse the bag. And now they make the bags biodegradable.
I know, it's amazing. They've come a long way. So
well, and they needed to bring all of us into that. And some people think, well, it's not a very strong bag then. No. They know what they're picking up.
Yeah, people have invented this. But we do have people who will be listening to this later. Our shows are live broadcasts, but then they also become podcasts. So if you are listening to this as a podcast, we are showing Pet Psychic Amina's LinkedIn profile, which is one of the preferred ways that she likes to be contacted. And by the way, you are recipients of a couple of awards for 2024. So congratulations to you on that. Your LinkedIn profile is your name, Aminah-Ramzany, Ramezany. Yep. And we also have your website. Let's take a look at that. And maybe you could just walk us through some of the opportunities people have to work with you.
Yep. I have the gift, I don't talk about it a lot, to talk to pets that have passed. And because I talk to the people too. And also I'm a trainer, so I can give you tips on, let's try this, let's do this. And this is what we've done you've allowed me to do on the show, is share those same things. What can we do? How can we do it outside? How can we, have a pet and I have allergies? That's a really stumper because everybody's so specifically individual on how their allergies and or addictions or whatever with pets are. Do you get a hairless cat? Maybe. But again, that's a personal decision, and I can give you some tips on what it looks like. And if you get a hairless cat, you're going to be doing a lot of skin care. That's really important because they don't have that protection. So that you're going to need to make sure that they have the moistures or whatever the vet recommends. So, but I don't need anybody in my presence to do a reading. That's never been a problem for my gift.
And so you are willing to meet with people by phone or by Zoom, anywhere
Yeah,
they are
absolutely.
in
I
the world?
don't charge any different by Zoom or by, I have Zoom, so it doesn't charge me more for more people. But no, so I try to keep my costs pretty consistent. I have never raised my price in 5 years.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And here are the prices here, obviously affordable. So please do reach out to Pet Psychic Amina. We're here every Friday at noon Pacific time, 2 o'clock Central time, 3 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time, and 9 o'clock Central European.
I'm so surprised you memorized all of those things. So, and and pretty soon, Dr. Jacalyn and I are going to talk about doing some remote work because I am heading north for a few weeks, and so we'll still have our talks and still help you with your pets. And please feel free to send me a Bridging Worlds a question if you'd like me to do that on the show.
All right. Thank you so much. Pet Psychic Amina's contact information, website, bridgingworlds.us. We already saw your LinkedIn, and then Facebook, Bridging World. So please do reach out. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And thank you, everybody. Our next show is coming up. So stay tuned. If you are in the US of A, enjoying this Black Friday, maybe you're out there shopping till you drop. I don't know. But be safe out there. And remember, kindness, compassion. Do we really want to knock someone over to get some kind of toy?
Right.
No. Let's be considerate of one another. So sending you all lots of love. Bye for now. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.